Hi everyone and welcome to Redesigned Rose. My name is Jen Rose. If you are new, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button. That's going to allow you to receive all of the alerts to my new tutorials that I am working on for you guys. I am positive you're not going to want to miss those. I do everything around here DIY, everything from the brick wall you see behind me, the old world style vase down below, the textured lamp, the string art, the paint on the walls, you name it. But today we are going to focus on making one of these giant, squishy, fluffy, amazing, chunky knit blankets. You've probably seen some of these going around. Trust me, you're going to want one. And after you have one, your friends and family are gonna want one. They do make great gifts, I will have to tell you that. But you're gonna learn that these are so easy to make. You guys, if you've ever sat there and thought, you know what, I'm just not a crafty person. There's no way I could make a blanket. If the craft store or even the fabric store is something that is foreign to you, stick around, please. You're going to see just how easy this is. You could make one of these in probably 5 to 6 hours, depending on, of course, the size that you want to make. I've made these anywhere from a throw size blanket all the way to a king size blanket because they are that wonderful. But and also how fast you work. But you can maybe in a weekend knock one of these out and then enjoy it for a lifetime to come. Best news is you don't need any tools. You're just going to want to grab the yarn in your favorite color and your hands. Let's get started. Have you ever been down one of the yarn aisles, say at one of your local craft stores, Michael's, Joann's, what have you, and just been overwhelmed? Don't worry, you're not alone. When you're just getting started learning crochet, knitting, whether it's with hooks or without, one of the overwhelming, in a maybe not so good way, is the amount of choices. Once you start to learn how to make certain things and you get so proud of a different project, that yarn aisle becomes overwhelming in the best ways possible because your imagination can just run wild. Now, with most tutorials, you're going to find a yarn suggestion based on the blanket that is being made in the video. For this one, I did choose the Bernat blanket big yarn. This is made by Yarnspirations. I love this yarn because it is so incredibly thick and soft. But one of the even better things that I love about this yarn is the fact that it is machine washable. Yes, you can throw your entire blanket into the washing machine, so long as it fits, of course, depending on the size you make. And you can even put this in the dryer. I do like to put mine either on just an air dry or a low heat, just to be safe, because the tension of the stitches I have found can get a little more relaxed if you do throw the blanket in the dryer. So I'll either just air dry it for a little bit in the dryer and then lay it out to completely dry for the rest of it. All right, so the foundation of every blanket is going to be a chain. I do mine a little bit differently, and I'll explain why in just a moment. But in order to start our chain, we do need to do something called a slip knot. There's a couple of different ways that folks do this, but I do find that this is the easiest way for me anyway. I'll go ahead and just take my hand with my 4 fingers, throw my yarn over, throw it over one more time, just kind of let that hang out. Then this little tail that is hanging off here, all I'm going to do is kind of push that through. You can see that coming in here. Then I'm going to grab this little loop, remove my hand, and then I'm going to hold this and pull my knot. Nice and easy. Okay, you can adjust the size of your knot only with this tail portion, but you can actually make that little loop that we've made smaller, or you can pull it larger, however much you need for whatever you're working on. It is important to leave a little bit of a tail at the end for now. You do want to have this, and I'll explain that as well at the end of the blanket. But let me go ahead and show you that slip knot again. Again, and that's why it's a slip knot. You can actually just pull it out. Again, take our hand, wrap the yarn over, wrap it over one more time, okay? Then we're gonna take this tail piece, and just push that through. You can see that little loop coming through. Take your fingers, hang on to it, pull your hand out, and then I like to grab both pieces, and then I can adjust my slip knot here, okay? Very, very easy once you get the hang of it, how to do it. Anyhow, for this particular stitch, I do like to have about this much room in between my loops. I shouldn't say in between, on the inside of my loops. If they're too tight, my loops are down here like this, it will be super, super difficult to get my fingers through to grab my yarn. You can do it. It will create a much tighter stitch and a bit stiffer blanket, but I do find that it's much easier, and especially for today, I really want you guys to be able to see exactly what I'm doing, and if I go too small, it's gonna make it a little bit more difficult, I think. So having just a little bit of room in between your fingers here. This is what we call our working yarn, which is the yarn attached to our skein. To start our chain, now that we have our slip knot, start our chain, I'm gonna go ahead and reach these fingers in and grab my working yarn, and then I'm going to just pull through until I create another loop that's about the same size. Okay, then continue to grab my yarn, pull it through, again until I have a loop that's about the same size. And I like to hold on to my chain back here with my hand so that I can control the tension inside each one of these loops, or what they're actually called, stitches. And all I'm doing is just pulling that yarn through, pulling through. And what you will start to see here is what looks like an actual chain, which is why they call it a chain. And this is the foundation of your blanket. What this is going to become is the bottom of the blanket, and what we're working on right now is going to be the width, how wide we want our blanket. And then from here, we're going to stitch upwards, which is going to end up being the length of our blanket. I do start my first rows a little bit differently than most, simply because I want all of the sides of my blanket to have this beautiful chain pattern. These are a little bit big, so I'm actually going to pull these out. Nice thing about hand stitching or even crochet is if you do mess up a little bit, it's very, very easy to just pull out a few stitches, pull out a few more. Okay, confession time. Seriously, you guys, I have completely pulled out entire blankets and started over because of course I couldn't waste the yarn. Various reasons. Sometimes I just realized I completely messed up. Sometimes I just wanted to go a different direction. Yeah, I would practice on a smaller sample like I'm going to do for you today. I'm just going to do a 20 chain sample for you so that you can get an idea of what to do. But for the blanket that I did make, I did chain on 45 stitches. So that chain went 45 loops or stitches. So again, just going to pull through, and you want to make this just as consistent as possible. Not everyone is going to be exactly perfect, but you definitely don't want to have a giant loop hanging out like this and then the rest of these nice and close together. So you can adjust, super easy. And especially if you go to put down your project and come back to it, sometimes it does end up getting the yarn pulled on a little bit. And so you'll adjust it from there. The other thing is your skein, that your working yarn, excuse me, that is tied to your skein. Sometimes if that gets knocked on something and you're trying to pull it through, sometimes it can mess with the size of your stitches as well. But as you can see, it's just this beautiful braid, really beautiful braid. And again, I want the edges of all 4 sides of my blanket to look the same. So again, I'll get to that in just a minute. But for now, you can tell how many stitches I've done by counting each one of these basically V loops. And then each one of those also has this little crossover piece inside each one there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 stitches so far. Many patterns will have you just stitch into the tops of these stitches here, and then that's what creates this kind of flat look for the bottom of your blanket. And in order to get this nice wide braid, what we do, if you lay out your chain, you'll see there's 2 sides to your chain. One just has these V's, which is another way to count your stitches, by the way. The other side, you can see these crossover pieces here in the middle. What I like to do is stitch my first row through each one of these. And then that way, you can see it's going to give you that braid edge for the bottom of the blanket. So all you're going to do is take your working yarn, just hanging off over here, nice and relaxed and happy, not caught on anything because that causes issues. And what we're going to do is go into this first crossover piece here. I'm just going to stick my fingers in here and pull this through. Okay, these will be a little tighter, little more work on this very first row, but I promise it's worth it. So go to the next one, pull through. And again, we just want to try to keep all of these pieces as consistent as possible. Don't get your ruler, don't measure them, just take a peek and make sure that they are pretty even. All right, so we're just gonna go through, again, each one of these little bumps here, all the way to the end. This is the only tricky part of the entire blanket. Don't let it scare you off. The other stitches get a little bit easier on the hands, I promise. It's just because we're grabbing that center twist in that chain. Feel free to go to the end of your row. Just once again, pulling all of these through that center knot there. And I will meet you there in just a moment. Here is our slip knot that we created. That does count as a stitch, and it's very easy to miss that. Kind of played with this a little bit here, and here you can see that last. Sometimes it is a little tricky to find that last piece. If it is, don't worry, you're not alone, and it is going to be a little tight, but we will make it happen. Pull that through. All right, you guys, we did it. Hard part's over, but so worth it. So worth it. So if this blanket was hanging on a wall, this would be the bottom of the blanket here, and it's gonna go up from here. We lay it down this way, you can see we're just gonna build this way. And what we do on the hand knitting is we do work right to left and left to right. We ended up down here. Then what I like to do is, because we're now going to work in left to right, I like to take my working yarn and just kind of let it hang this direction. It's just easier when you're pulling on your yarn. This is where we're going to actually start our pattern that you saw on the blanket. This is what some refer to as a seed stitch. So for this first stitch here, I'm going to take my working yarn and I'm going to push this through to make this loop. And what it's done is it's actually created this little bar across. Then I'm going to take my yarn, set it aside, and I'll pull the yarn through. And then this is going to create that V stitch. Next one, I'm going to push through and pull. And I like to take my hand while I'm showing you guys this and just kind of push these down to hold them in place, if you will. And pull. And what you'll start to see is this pattern of this every other stitch having this bar go across, and then every other stitch having that V shape. It's doing the exact opposite for you on the other side. How cool is that? There's that bar across, V, bar, V, bar, V, and bar. So your blanket's gonna look the same on both sides, which is really cool because when it's folded up, it just compounds the pattern. It's amazing. Looks like you spent 20 years trying to make it. But look how easy this is. This is the entire blanket pattern, you guys. Just a push and pull through your stitches. I like to grab the tops of them when I'm not trying to hold it down on the table to show you guys. And just go all the way down to the end of my row. Feel free to stop and rewind if you think you missed something. Pause and try a few yourself. That's really the best way that you're going to learn. But once you get the hang of this, super easy. Go ahead and come all the way down to our row, and then I'll show you what we are going to do with that little guy we left hanging in the wind there. All right, so here he is. All we're gonna do is come through the back, grab our working yarn, make another loop, and now we're gonna leave this one hanging out. And then now we're gonna go from my right to left. So I do like to have my yarn going the next direction that I'm working. It just makes it a little easier. And so when I start this next row here, because this is that V stitch, the pull, now I do know, not counting this one, this doesn't include in the every other one pattern, I'm just going to take my yarn and push through. And this one was a push, so it's a pull, every other one. And this is really where you're gonna start to see this pattern come to life that you're absolutely gonna love. So hopefully you can see this, where you're gonna get these little bars across on every other stitch, every alternating rows. Does that make sense? Hopefully. And this is your entire blanket. The only thing from this point that you need to remember is that at the end, you just want to leave one guy hanging out, because this is going to become the edge of your blanket. And so what you'll end up seeing, this is going to be the corner, and you're going to have, again, this consistent pattern that we wanted to keep on the bottom. It's going to start going up the sides, and then I'll show you how to create it at the top when we close up our blanket, after I get myself untangled. The other thing that is amazing about these blankets is you can set them down and come back to them. Don't be afraid that if you set it down, everything's gonna come unraveled and you'll have to start over. Quite the contrary. You can, depending on how fast you work, you can get one of these blankets done in 5 or 6 hours. This is not a giant project. These make amazing gifts, you guys, especially come Christmas time. I do like to make them throughout the year, and if I haven't already given them all away by Christmas, I do like to give them as Christmas gifts, because who doesn't love a warm blanket in the winter? All right, so here's, once again, we're at the end here. Here's our little guy hanging out. Once again, we're gonna grab through, create that chain, and now I'm pulling my yarn the other direction. And so as you can see, we're starting to create this box here. This is really where the blanket starts coming to life. And so just like on the other side and on the bottom, you're getting that braid look, all by remembering to just leave one at the end each time that you get to the end of a row. So again, you're doing the opposite. So this one was, I had pushed the yarn through, so now I'm gonna go ahead and pull it. You just wanna make sure you're doing the opposite of the stitch you see. So that way, if you do put it down and pick it up, you know exactly what you did on the last stitch and what you need to do to continue the pattern. You guys will notice that as you're working on this, you're just gonna find that you're gonna be able to relax. This is really therapeutic. It's just nice to clear your mind, create something beautiful, calm your nerves from a long day, or even just start your day. Sometimes just starting off your day creating sets the tone for the rest of the day. All right, so I am at the end of this particular sample piece of yarn that I have, and you're gonna get to the end of your entire skein, and you're gonna say, Jen, my blanket's not big enough. What do? I'm out of yarn. Grab a new skein, grab the end of it, and what you're gonna do is tie a knot nice and tight. And I like to give it a pull both ways. Some people will leave these tails in here and just weave it through the pattern. I find that they tend to want to come out and play after some time goes by. So I do like to snip them off right now because I think it just looks cleaner. And then what you are left with is this little knot, which does hide very, very well in your pattern. So don't worry too much about that. This is the only part that will shed, by the way, is when you do cut it. Some of the little fuzzies from the end will come off. Don't panic. We will all be okay. All right, last thing I'm gonna show you guys. Let's pretend that we are at the 50th row, or however high we wanted to go with this blanket, and we're ready to close up and be able to enjoy this thing. All you're going to do is take your working yarn here. We're gonna grab this guy that has been left out. I'm not gonna leave him out this time, and the next stitch, hold them both together, okay? Just gonna hold them together. You're gonna grab your working yarn, and you're gonna push through. Now you're gonna hang on to this one, grab the next stitch, take your working yarn, push through both of those. Same thing. Now we've got this one and this one. Whoops, let's get that back there where it belongs. And there's even our knot. We're gonna hide him down in there. Here's my stitch, grab the next one, push through both, grab the next stitch, push through both, and you're just gonna do this all the way to the end. How easy is this? Just be sure to push it through, both of them. You wanna make sure when you are determining the height of your blanket or the length, You do want to make sure you leave enough yarn for the top of this. However much you needed for each one of these rows, you do need a little bit more because you're pulling through both of these stitches here. So it does take a little bit more yarn than it took you to do one of these rows, if that makes any sense. So make sure you don't leave yourself short. Otherwise you're gonna have confession time like me of having to undo blankets and redo them. Which, believe it or not, is not the end of the world, because our practice makes progress, right? Isn't that what they say? All right, so I'm at the end of the row. Here's this one that was left out. Again, take both of these guys. And I'm gonna be consistent and come through the back here. So this ends up being the corner of our blanket, but you're saying, what do I do with these two guys? First thing you're gonna do is cut away from the rest of your yarn, leave enough of the tail. Then you're just gonna take this piece here. I like to make this loop a little smaller and pull this all the way through and pull that knot in. Now, some people will tell you just take this and you can just weave this all the way through your blanket. And you can. Nothing wrong with that. Kind of adds to the end a little bit. And then snip off right here. The only problem is what I was saying earlier about the others is the ends like to peek through sometimes. So what I like to do is just take the end and tie one more little knot before I snip it at the end. You'll never be able to know it's there. But it also just gives some extra protection. And then you say, well, there's this guy over here. Yeah, we cut him off too. So again, what you're gonna end up with, you see this beautiful braid pattern on the top, on the side, on the bottom, and the other sides. They're all consistent. All right, everybody, that's it for this tutorial. Hopefully I've given you some tips, whether or not this is your first blanket. But if it is your first blanket, hopefully at least I've given you the confidence to try something new and just to find out that we can step out and try something and not be intimidated by it. Once we have something like a tutorial that can break the steps down into easy little pieces, anything is possible, you guys. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to see pictures of any blankets that you're making. If you have questions on anything while you're making them or even before you get started, feel free to put it in the comments below. I'd be happy to get back to you guys. Love your support. Like, comment, share, subscribe, anything that you can do to help support this channel. I would greatly appreciate that in return. And in the meantime, have you guys a great day, and I hope I get to see you all snuggling up with your blankets soon.